Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Raul from Houston, Texas, and I decided to get my CDL. And in the process of getting my CDL, I also decided to go ahead and read the Texas Department of Public Safety's PDF manual so people can benefit from it. This is a educational video. I own nothing. So if you want a copy of this PDF right here, Texas Commercial Motor Vehicle Driver's Handbook to get your CDL in Texas, current of February 7th, 2018. So this is the most current edition right here, as of February 7th, 2018. Go to the Department of Public Safety and go to the home tab, go to the driver's license tab in the home section, and then scroll down just a little bit and you'll see the CDL handbook. If you click on the CDL handbook, you'll have your own copy and you'll be able to download the PDF version of the Texas Commercial Motor Vehicles Driver's Handbook. You can get a print version if you go to the website again. So go ahead and go back, and if you see where it says CDL skills testing location, click on that and a map is going to pop up and you'll be able to see where in Texas you can go to get your test done. Then there's one last PDF you might want to check out. That's the medical certification tab PDF. So you click on that tab and scroll down a little bit, and depending on what your limitations, requirements, or licenses, you'll download one of these PDFs. Again, go to the Department of Public Safety website to make sure you have the most current information. So, as you can see, this Texas Department of Public Safety handbook is pretty old. It's 4 years old, so they might update pretty soon. But in any case, this is the most recent thing they have. So without further ado, here it goes. The Texas Department of Public Safety's handbook, Texas Commercial Motor Vehicle Driver's Handbook for getting your CDL. Important notice to owners of commercial motor vehicles. Important notice to owners of commercial motor vehicles. Anyone required to have a CDL to drive a commercial motor vehicle is subject to alcohol-controlled substance testing. You or your drivers and vehicles are also subject to other parts of the motor carrier safety regulations. The Texas Department of Public Safety has published a booklet entitled A Motor Carrier's Guide to Improving Highway Safety, which offers important information on these subjects. This booklet is available upon request at the regional or district office of the Commercial Vehicle Enforcement Service. Information about alcohol-controlled substance testing and other parts of the motor vehicle carrier safety regulations can be obtained by contacting the nearest office of the Commercial Vehicle Service of the DPS. The Texas Department of Public Safety does not discriminate because of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, age, or disability. Persons needing accommodation under the provisions of the Americans with Disability Act should contact their local driver license office. ADA grievance procedures are published in the Texas Administrative Code Title 37, Section 1.41. This material is based upon work supported by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration under Cooperative Agreement number DTF H61-97-X-00017. Any opinions, findings, conclusions, or recommendations expressed in this publication are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the view of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. Table of contents includes the prologue, introduction, driving safely, transporting cargo safely, transporting passengers safely, air brakes, combination vehicles, doubles and triples, tank vehicles, hazardous materials, school bus, vehicle inspection, basic vehicle control skill tests, on-road driving special requirements for Texas commercial motor vehicles. Prologue. In 1989, the Texas legislature established the Commercial Driver License Law to comply with the Federal Commercial Motor Vehicle Safety Act of 1986. These laws are passed to reduce traffic accidents involving commercial motor vehicles. The following handbook was designed to assist you, the professional driver, to pass the required knowledge and skills tests. You should pay attention to the key points listed throughout the handbook in the right-hand margin. Look for relevant study and review questions at the end of many chapters. Although comprehensive, this handbook is not an exact reference to the Texas Commercial Driver's License Law. Who needs a commercial driver's license? All drivers who operate a commercial motor vehicle are required to have a commercial driver license. The law does provide for some exemptions. A driver that meets one or more of the criteria listed below will not be required to have a CDL. However, the driver is required to have a Class A, B, or C non-CDL license. Who is exempt from a CDL? Certifications Form CDL-2 required. Persons operating the following vehicles are exempt from a commercial driver's license. Number 1, a vehicle that is controlled and operated by a farmer, used to transport agricultural products, farm machinery, or farm supplies to or from a farm, not used in the operations of a common or contract motor carrier, and used within 150 air miles of the person's farm. Number 2, a firefighting or emergency vehicle necessary to the provision of life or property or the execution of emergency governmental functions, whether operated by an employee of a political subdivision or by a volunteer firefighter. This includes operators of industrial emergency vehicles. Number 3, a military vehicle. When operated for military purposes by military personnel, members of the Reserves and National Guard on active duty, including personnel on full-time National Guard duty, personnel on part-time training, and National Guard military technicians. Number 4, a recreational vehicle that is driven for personal use. Number 5, a vehicle that is owned, leased, or controlled by air carrier as defined by Texas Transportation Code Section 21.155 and that is driven or operated exclusively by an employee of the air carrier only on the premises of an airport as defined by the TRC section. 22.001 On service roads to which the public does not have access. Number 6. A vehicle used exclusively to transport seed cotton modules or cotton burrs. Different classes of commercial driver's licenses. There are 3 basic types of classes for commercial driver licenses are described below. For further information, refer to Figure 1.2. This helps a person determine which class of license he or she needs and which sections of the book to study. Class A. Any combination of vehicles with a gross combination weight rating of 26,001 pounds or more, provided the gross vehicle weight rating of the vehicle or vehicles towed exceeds 10,000 pounds. Class B. Any single vehicle with a gross vehicle weight rating of 26,001 pounds or more, any one of those vehicles towing a vehicle that does not exceed 10,000 pounds gross vehicle weight rating, and any vehicle designed to transport 24 passengers or more, including the driver, and a Class B license will be restricted to operating buses under 26,001 pounds, GVWR. If the skills test is taken in a bus with a GVWR or less than 26,001 pounds. Class C. Any single vehicle or combination of vehicles that is not a Class A or Class B is the vehicle is. Number 1. Designed to transport 16 to 23 passengers, including the driver. Or, number 2, used in the transportation of hazardous material that require the vehicle to be place carded under 49 CFR Part 172, Subpart F. Commercial Learning Permit, CLP. A commercial learning permit will be issued to drivers who are applying to drive a commercial vehicle or modify an existing commercial driver's license. A CLP must be held for a minimum of 14 days prior to being allowed to take the CDL skills test. This applies to original applicants, modifications in grade, and adding endorsements which require a skill test. While operating a commercial motor vehicle with a commercial learner's permit (CLP), the applicants must have a licensed CDL operator with the proper class of license in the front seat with him. See endorsements and restrictions section. In addition to the general driver license restrictions and endorsements, a CDL holder must also have one or more of the following restrictions or endorsements applied to his license. Endorsement and restrictions of the commercial driver's license. Code endorsement. Code T. Triple double trailer. Code P. Passenger. Code N. Tank vehicle. Code H. Hazardous material. Code X. Combination of N and H. Code S. School buses. Code restriction. Code M. Interstate only. Code L. No air brakes. Code P. Licensed CDL operator in front seat. All classes C and V's. Licensed CDL operator in front seat, CMVs above Class B, licensed CDL operators in front seat, CMVs above Class C. For a complete listing of the driver license restrictions and endorsement, visit our website at http://www.dps.texas.gov. Farm-related service industry, FRSI waiver. The Texas Department of Public Safety may waive the commercial driver license CDL knowledge and skill test required by TRC section 522.012 and provide for the insurance of a restricted CDL to an employee of a farm-related service industry, FRSI. Seasonal drivers of the following FRSI are authorized by federal and state regulations to obtain the waiver and be issued a restricted CDL. Number 1, farm retail outlets and suppliers. Number 2, agrochemical businesses. Number 3, custom harvesters. Includes cotton modular operators. And 4, livestock feeders. FRSI CDLs shall be issued for Class B and Class C vehicles only. Class A vehicles are not included in the waiver. The FRSI CDL can only be valid for 180 days, each 12-month period, as indicated on the license. Applicants are not required to pass CDL knowledge or skills test to obtain an FRSI CDL. However, by rule, the department will require applicants for a Class B FRSI CDL to pass the 20-question Class A-B rules test and skills test in a Class B vehicle before Class B FRSI CDL will be issued. An applicant for an FRSI CDL must have a good driving record and at least 1 year of driving experience in any type of vehicle. A driver who has not held any motor vehicle operator's license for at least 1 year will not be eligible for the FRSI CDL. Drivers who have between 1 and 2 years of driving experience must demonstrate the good driving record requirements for their entire driving history. Drivers with more than 2 years of driving experience must meet the good driving record requirements for the 2-year period preceding their date of application for an FRSI CDL. A good driving record is defined as number 1, no multiple licenses. Number 2, no driver license, suspensions, revocations, disqualifications, or cancellations of any kind. Number 3, no convictions in any type of motor vehicle for driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs, leaving the scene of an accident, or committing any felony involving a motor vehicle. Number 4, no convictions whatsoever in any type of motor vehicle for serious traffic violations, speeding at 15 miles per hour or more above the speed posted limit, reckless driving, improper or erratic lane changes, following too closely, driving a CMV without a CDL in possession, or driving a CMV without a CDL. And number 5, no convictions in any type of motor vehicle for accident-connected traffic law violations and no record of at-fault accidents. A holder of an FRSI CDL may not transport hazardous materials in quantities requiring place carding except for the following amounts. Number 1, transport 1,000 gallons or less of diesel fuel. Number 2, transport 3,000 gallons or less of liquid fertilizer. Or number 3, transport any quantity of solid fertilizer not mixed with any organic substance. No other place carded hazardous material shall be transported by holders of the FRSI CDL. The FRSI CDL confers the right to carry hazardous materials as listed above. No hazardous material endorsement can be placed on the FRSI CDL. An FRSI CDL driver may only be permitted to operate commercial motor vehicles within 150 miles of the employer's place of business or farm currently being reserved. CDL sanctions disqualifications apply to the FRSI CDL driver just as they do the unrestricted CDL driver. A driver who operates a commercial motor vehicle that is not included in the farm-related service industry waiver or who violates the restriction on the FRSI is subject to a fine as provided in state law. TRC section 522.043 and suspension of driving privileges as provided in state law. TRC section 521.294. The FRSI CDL has reciprocity in all cities. An applicant for an FRSI CDL must meet all other CDL requirements as provided by 489 Code of Federal Regulations. Part 383 TRC Section 522 and Department Administrative Regulations. This includes age, minimum age 18 interstate commerce and 21 interstate commerce. Minimum age 18 intrastate commerce and age 21 interstate commerce. Language, vision and physical requirements. Applicants must complete the CDL-1F application from when applying for the FRSI CDL, renewing the FRCI CDL, or changing the seasonal validity period once each year, and the applicant's employer must complete the backside of the application each time. The fees for an FRSI CDL are the same as for a regular CDL, $60. For original or renewals, $10 each. Time the seasonal validity period has to be updated once each year. General requirements. The following are general requirements as a person must meet in order to apply for a commercial driver license. Interstate. The driver must reside in the state of Texas. He must certify that he meets the qualification requirements of 49 SFR Part 391, which are briefly be 21 years of age. Number 2, be able to read and speak the English language. Number 3, no loss of limb that has not been waived. Number 4, no impairment of hand, finger, arm, foot, or leg that interferes with driving. Number 5, no diabetes requiring insulin for control. Number 6, no heart problems. Number 7, no respiratory dysfunction. Number 8, no high blood pressure. Number 9, no rheumatic, arthritic, orthopedic, muscular, neuromuscular, or vascular problems that would affect vehicle control. Number 10, no epilepsy or other conditions likely to cause loss of consciousness. Number 11, no mental, nervous, organic, or functional disease of psychiatric disorder likely to interfere with vehicle control. Number 12, vision 20, 40, or better in each eye. Not colorblind. Number 13, have good hearing. Number 14, not addicted to drugs. And number 15, not addicted to alcohol. Completion of a Form CDL4 is required. Interstate. The driver must reside in the state of Texas. The driver must be at least 18 years of age. English language is not required. Interstate drivers must meet all of these fitness requirements listed above for interstate drivers unless exempted. Interstate drivers who do not meet the vision requirements of 49 CFR Part 391 may be able to qualify for a vision waiver. A driver must have 20/40 or better distant vision with or without corrective lenses in order to qualify for the waiver. Applicants for a vision waiver must apply to the Department Enforcement and Compliance Service, P.O. Box 4087, Austin, Texas 78773-0310. Federal physical requirements of 49 CFR Part 391 do not apply to the following commercial motor vehicle operators who will be required to hold a CDL, but they must meet state medical and vision requirements. A driver who operates a commercial motor vehicle in interstate commerce not transporting property requiring hazardous material, place card, and was regularly employed in Texas in intrastate commerce prior to August 28, 1989, CDL must be restricted to intrastate. School bus drivers employed by private or parochial school and schools bus drivers employed by a company that operates school buses under contract with a school while transporting school children and or school personnel from home to school and from school to home. Persons operating a vehicle for a government entity. This includes school bus drivers employed directly by a school district. Persons occasionally transporting personnel, property, not for compensation nor in the furtherance of any commercial enterprise. Persons transporting corpses or sick or injured people. Private transportation of passengers. Intercity zone drivers with limited exceptions who possess a DOT medical examiner certification restricted to intracity operations. Medical certificate must be presented to a DPS employee at the time of application. The transportation of a farm machinery, supplies, or both to or from a farm from custom harvesting operations on a farm or the transporting of custom harvested operations to storage or market. Drivers operating motor vehicles controlled and operated by a beekeeper engaged in the seasonal transportation of bees. The operation of a vehicle in interstate operation used in the oil or water well servicing or oil or water well drilling and which is constructed as a machine consisting in general of a mast and engine for power, a drawworks and a chassis permanently constructed or assembled for such purpose. CDL must be restricted to intrastate. the operation of a mobile crane that is an unladen, self-propelled vehicle constructed as a machine used to raise, shift, or lower weights. CDL must be restricted to intrastate. The completion of either Form CDL-5 or CDL-10 is required. Commercial Driver License CDL. Medical Certification Requirements. All commercial driver license holders must certify to their medical certification status. For additional information, please visit our website at www.texasdps.state.texas.us. Tests. A driver must pass certain knowledge and skills tests depending on the type of commercial driver license and or endorsements he needs. These tests are described in section 1.1. Knowledge tests. The knowledge tests are multiple choice and matching type tests. A person must answer 80% of the questions correctly prior to taking the skills test. Sequence of the knowledge exams. Texas commercial rules. General knowledge. Combination if required. Air brakes if required. Double, triple trailer if required. Passengers if required. School bus if required. Tanker if required. Hazmat if required. Safety inspection. Before the driver begins his skills test, the examiner will conduct a safety inspection of the vehicle. This will include equipment requirements, liability insurance requirements, and registration requirements. If the vehicle does not pass inspection, the skills test will be postponed. The vehicle will be inspected for the following: current liability insurance, headlamps for bright and dim, 2 tail lamps, one for 1959 models or earlier, 2 for stop lamps, one for 1959 models or earlier, turn signals, 1960 or later models, horn, inspection certification, exhaust system, license plate, current. 2. Windshield wiper, rear view mirror, safety belts, approved glass coating material if applicable, clearance lamps, side marker lamps, side reflectors, turn signals, all models, mud flaps, 4 or more tires on the rear axle, hazard warning lamps, fire extinguisher if required, flashing lights, school buses, 2 red alternately flashing lamps to the front and rear, school bus sign 8 inches in height on front and rear of the bus when in use as school bus, reflective triangles if required, full service brakes, hydraulic brake, parking brake. Skills test. All drivers of CMVs must have the knowledge and skills necessary to operate a CMV safely. The required skills test consists of 3 sections: pre-trip vehicle inspection, basic vehicle control, and safe on-road driving skills. Each section on the skills test must be passed before taking the next section. Section 11, 12, and 13 cover these required skill tests. Road tests. A driver must take a road test in the vehicle he plans to drive, or one in the same class. The road test will consist of the following maneuvers. Number 1, start. Number 2, quick smooth stop. Number 3, parallel parking. Number 4, backing. Number 5, upshifting. Number 6, downshifting. Number 7, lane change. Number 8, merge. Number 9, use of lanes. Number 10, right of way. Number 11, posture. Number 12, approach to corner. Number 13, traffic signals. Number 14, traffic signs. Number 15, left turns. Number 16, right turns. Pass or fail. The official conducting the examination will guide the driver through the road tests. If the driver successfully performs the required maneuvers, he or she will be issued a commercial driver license. If not, he or she will be required to take the road test again another day. The following factors will result in failure of the road test: having too many deductions, more than 30, having or causing an accident, driving dangerously, not cooperating, violating the law. Skills test exemption. A driver is exempt from the skills test if he or she can certify to the meeting all of the following requirements. Number 1, he or she is currently licensed. Number 2, during the 2-year period immediately prior to applying for the commercial driver's license, he or she A, has not had more than one license, B, has not had any license suspended, revoked, or canceled, C, has not had any convictions for a disqualifying offense for any type of motor vehicle, such as driving while intoxicated, DWI, driving under the influence of drugs, DUID, blood breath test refusal, BBTR, fail to stop and render aid, FSRA, felony involving use of a commercial motor vehicle, the use of a commercial motor vehicle in the commission of a felony involving manufacturing, distributing, or dispensing a controlled substance. Any violation of state or local law relating to the motor vehicle traffic control arising in connection with any traffic accident in which the aforementioned driver was at fault. D, has not had more than one serious traffic violation: speeding 15 miles per hour over the speed limit, reckless driving, following too close, unsafe lane change, a violation of the law relating to traffic control arising in connection with a fatal accident, excluding parking, weight, and vehicle defect violations, driving a CMV without a CDL, driving a CMV without a CDL in possession. Number 3, he is regularly employed in a job requiring the operation of a commercial motor vehicle, and A, has previously taken and passed a skills test given by a state with a classified licensing system, and the test was behind the wheel in a representative vehicle for the driver license classification. Or B, has operated for at least 2 years immediately preceding application for a commercial driver license, a vehicle representative of the commercial motor vehicle he operates or expects to operate. The exemption only applies to drivers whose 2-year driving experience have been legal, properly licensed, and who have been driving vehicles that are exempt: firefighters, farmers, etc. Texas drivers applying for a commercial driver license. A driver currently licensed in Texas must present the driver license, proof of their social security number, Examples include actual Social Security number card, health insurance card issued by governmental agencies, peace officer license issued by TCLEOSE, military identification card, DD-214, pilot's license issued by FAA, certified college or university transcript, IRS form W-2, wage and tax statement. Form 1099-MISC pay stub. Stub must include name and social security number. And Medicare or Medicaid card. A fax mile, flea market, or metal social security card are not acceptable. Also, they will be required to complete an application, a self-certification of medical status, and a qualification certification form CDL-4, CDL-5, or CDL-10 to certify that they meet or are exempt from certain physical qualifications, along with any other necessary certification forms previously mentioned. All the information necessary to take and pass the required CDL test is contained in the Texas Commercial Motor Vehicle Driver's Handbook. If a Texas driver is upgrading from a Class C license to a higher class license, he will be required to take the Texas Commercial Rules Test. See Section 14 of this handbook, page 14-1. Others applying for a commercial driver's license. If a person is applying for a Texas driver's license for the first time, he will have to fulfill requirements in addition to those for a Texas driver. He will be required to complete an original application for a Texas driver license and take any knowledge and or skill tests required. The tests are derived from both the Texas Driver's Handbook and the Texas Commercial Motor Vehicles Driver's Handbook. All necessary forms, handbooks, and are available at the driver license office, or visit our website at www.dps.texas.gov. Application. If an application does not pass the knowledge and skills test on the date of the first application, the pending application will be retained in the driver license system for 90 days. If after 90 days of 3 failures, all required tests have not been passed, the application will be canceled. A new application fee and test will be required. Fees. A CDL will require a fee of $60 for 5 years. If a driver already has a valid Texas driver license, Class A, B, or C, and converts to a commercial driver's license, they will be given a $4 credit for each full year remaining on the current license. A $24 fee is required for an applicant who obtains Commercial Learner's Permit, CLP. A $10 fee is required for an applicant who makes a change in the class or type of license, endorsement, or restrictions, or one that adds a class of vehicles to a CDL. The fee for a replacement duplicate license is $10. Implied consent. A person who drives a commercial motor vehicle in this state is deemed to have given consent to submit the taking of one or more specimens of the person's breath, blood, or urine for the purpose of analysis to determine the alcohol concentration or the presence in the person's body of a controlled substance or drug. Disqualifications. If a driver refuses to submit to a blood alcohol content test while driving a commercial motor vehicle, he will lose his commercial driver license for the period of time specified in the law. Other disqualifications that can cause a driver to lose a commercial driver's license are explained in section 1.2, page 1-2 of this manual. reporting convictions. Also explained in section 1.2 is a requirement for a driver to report all traffic convictions to his employer. Any out-of-state traffic convictions must be reported by the out-of-state licensing authority to the Department Enforcement of Compliance Service. Are the tests difficult? The information contained in this handbook is very technical. A general working knowledge of commercial motor vehicles and their operation may not be sufficient preparation for the CDL test. Even seasoned professionals, commercial drivers, need to study this handbook before making application for a CDL. A person should also be familiar with the section entitled Special Requirements for Texas Commercial Motor Vehicles. This same information is also found in section 14 of this CDL handbook. Where do I go? Not all driver license offices offer skills tests. Office addresses and telephone numbers are located in the telephone book under Texas Department of Public Safety or driver's licenses, or visit our website at www.dps.texas.gov. U.S. Patriot Act. The Uniting and Strengthening America by providing appropriate tools required to intercept and obstruct terrorism, USA Patriot Act was enacted on October 25, 2001. Section 1012 of the USA Patriot Act amended 489 U.S.C. Chapter 51 by adding a new section 5103A titled Limitation on Insurance of Hazmat Licenses. Section 5103A A1 provides a state may not issue to any individual a license to operate a motor vehicle transporting in commerce a hazardous material unless the Secretary of Transportation has first determined upon receipt of a notification under subsection C1B that the individual does not pose a security risk warranting denial of the license. Section 5103AA2 subjects license renewals to the same requirements. Section 5103AD requires the Attorney General, upon the request of a state in connection with the insurance of a HME, to carry out a background records check of the individual applying for the endorsement, and upon completing the check to notify the Secretary as delegated to the administrator of the TSA of the results. The Secretary then determines whether the individual possesses a security risk warranting denial of the endorsement. The background records check must consist of 1. A check of the relevant criminal history database. 2. In the case of an alien, a check of the relevant database to determine the status of an alien under U.S. immigration laws. And 3. As appropriate, a check of the relevant international database through Interpol, U.S. National Central Bureau, or other appropriate means. Section 1, Introduction. The section covers commercial driver's license tests, medical requirements, driver's disqualifications, other safety rules, international registration program. There is a federal requirement that each state have minimum standards for the licensing of commercial drivers. This manual provides driver license testing information for drivers who wish to have a commercial driver's license, CDL. This manual does not provide information on the federal and state requirements needed before you can drive a commercial motor vehicle, CMV. Please visit the Texas Department of Public Safety department website of www.dps.gov/driver license/commercial licenses.htm for additional information. You must have a CDL to operate any single vehicle with a gross vehicle weight rating GVWR of 26,001 pounds or more. A combination vehicle with a gross combination weight rating GCWR of 26,001 or more pounds, provided the GVWR of the vehicles being towed is in excess of 10,000 pounds. A vehicle designed to transport 16 or more passengers, including the driver. Any size vehicle which requires hazardous material, place cards, or is carrying material listed as a select agent or toxin in 42 CFR Part 73. Federal regulations through the Department of Homeland Security require a background check and fingerprinting for the hazardous materials endorsement. Visit www.dps.texas.gov/driver license/commercial licenses.htm for more information. To get a CDL, you must pass knowledge and skills tests. This manual will help you pass the tests. However, it is not a substitute for a truck driver training class or a program. Formal training is the most reliable way to learn the many special skills required for safely driving a large commercial vehicle and becoming a professional driver in the trucking industry. Figure 1.1 helps you determine if you need a CDL. Determining class of CDL required. Gross combination weight rating, GSWR, means the value specified by the manufacturer of the power unit. If the value is displayed on the Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standards FMVSS certification label, or the sum of the gross vehicle weight rating GVWRs, or the gross vehicle weights GVWS of the power unit and the towed units, or any combination therefore that produces the highest value. The underlined and italicized text above is for use by roadside enforcement only, by the purpose of determining whether the driver vehicle is subject to CDL regulations. It is not used to determine whether a vehicle is representative for the purposes of skills testing. Gross vehicle weight rating, GVWR, means the value specified by a manufacturer as the loading weight of a single vehicle. Figure 1.1. Note: a bus may be Class A, B, or C depending on whether the GVWR is over 26,001 pounds or is a combination vehicle. (1.1) Commercial Driver's License Test. 1.1.1 Knowledge Tests. You will have to take one or more knowledge tests depending on what class of license and what endorsements you need. The CDL knowledge tests include the general knowledge test taken by all applicants, the passenger's transport test taken by all drivers applicants, the brake tests, which you must take if your vehicle has air brakes, including air over hydraulic brakes, the combination vehicles test, which is required if you want to drive combination vehicles, the hazardous materials test, required if you want to haul hazardous materials as defined 49 CFR 383.5. In order to obtain this endorsement, you are also required to pass a Transportation Security Administration background check, TSA. The tank vehicle test required if you want to haul any liquid or gaseous material in a tank or tanks having an individual rated capacity of more than 119 gallons and aggregates rated capacity of 1,000 gallons or more that is either permanently or temporarily attached to the vehicle or chassis. The doubles, triples test. Required if you want to pull double or triple trailers. The school bus test. Required if you want to drive a school bus. 1.1.2 skills test. If you pass the required knowledge test, you can take the CDL skills test. There are 3 types of general skills that will be tested: vehicle inspection, basic vehicle control, and on-road driving. You must take these tests in the type of vehicle for which you wish to be licensed, and vehicle that has been components marked or labeled cannot be used for the vehicle inspection test. Vehicle inspection. You will be tested to see if you know whether the vehicle is safe to drive. You will be asked to do a vehicle inspection of your vehicle and explain to the examiner what you would inspect and why. Basic vehicle control. You will be tested on your skill to control the vehicle. You will be asked to move your vehicle forward, back, and turn it within a defined area. These areas may be marked with traffic lanes, cones, barriers, or something similar. The examiner will tell you how each control test is to be done. On-road test. You will be tested on your skill to safely drive your vehicle in a variety of traffic situations. The situations may include left and right turns, intersections, railroad crossings, curves, up and down grades, single or multi-lane road streets, or highways. The examiner will tell you where to drive. Figure 1.2 details which sections of this manual you should study for each particular class license and for each endorsement. Keynote. In Figure 1.2, study Section 5 if you plan to operate vehicles equipped with air brakes. 1.2 Medical documentation requirements. Starting January 30th, 2012 and no later than January 30th, 2014, if you are applying for a CDL permit or are renewing, upgrading, adding endorsements to a CDL or transferring a CDL from another state, you are required to provide information to the department regarding the type of commercial motor vehicle operation you drive in or expect to drive in with your CDL. Drivers operating in certain types of commerce will be required to submit a current medical examiner certificate and or any medical variance documentations that you have been issued, vision, skill performance, or diabetic waivers, or other exemptions. To your SDLA, to obtain a certified medical status as part of your driving record, please visit the department's website at www.dps.texas.gov/driver license/commercial license.htm for information regarding the requirements for submitting these documents. If you are required to have a certificate medical status and fail to provide and keep up to date your medical examiner certificate, you become not certified and you may lose your CDL. For the purpose of complying with the new requirements for medical certification, it is important to know how you are using the CMV. The following information will help you decide how to self-certify. 1.2.1 Interstate or intrastate commerce. Do you or will you use a CDL to operate a CMV in interstate or intrastate commerce? Interstate commerce is when you drive a CMV from one state to another state or foreign country, between two places within a state, but during part of the trip, the CMV crosses into another state or foreign country. Or between two places within a state, but the cargo or passengers are part of a trip that began or will end in another state or foreign country. Interstate commerce is when you drive a CMV within a state and you do not meet any of the description above for interstate commerce. If you operate in both intrastate commerce and interstate commerce, you must choose interstate commerce. 1.2.2 Intrastate commerce. Statutes not accepted or accepted. Once you decide whether you will operate in interstate commerce or intrastate commerce, you must decide whether you will operate or expect to operate in a non-accepted or expected status. This decision will tell you to which of the four types of commerce you must self-certify. Interstate commerce. You operate in expected interstate commerce when you drive a CMV interstate commerce only for the following expected activities: to transport school children and or school staff between home and school, as a federal, state, and local government employees, to transport human corpses or sick, injured persons, fire truck or rescue vehicle drivers during emergencies and other related activities, primarily in the transportation of propane, winter heating fuel when responding to an emergency condition requiring immediate response, such as damage to a propane gas system after a storm or flooding. In response to a pipeline emergency condition requiring immediate response, such as a pipeline leak or rupture. In customs harvesting on a farm, or to transport farm machinery and supplies used in the custom harvesting operation to and from a farm, or to transport custom harvested crops to storage or market. Beekeeper in the seasonal transportation of bees. Controlled and operated by a farmer but is not a combination vehicle, power unit, and towed unit, and is used to transport agricultural products, farm machinery, or farm supplies. No place cartable hazard materials to and from a farm and within 150 air miles of the farm. As a private motor carrier of passengers for non-business purposes, or to transport migrant workers. If you answer yes to one or more of the above activities as the only operation in which you drive, you operate in expected interstate commerce and do not need a federal medical examiner certificate. If you answer no to all of the above activities, you operate a non-expected interstate commerce and are required to provide a current medical examiner certificate, 49 CFR 391.45. Commonly referred to as medical certificate or dot card to the Texas Department of Public Safety's Driver's License Division. Most CDL holders who have CMVs in interstate commerce are not expected interstate commerce drivers. If you operate in both expected interstate commerce and not expected interstate commerce, you must choose non-expected interstate commerce to be qualified to operate in both of interstate commerce. If you are a school bus driver, you are still required to have a valid medical examiner certificate under 37 Texas Administrative Code Rule 14.12. Intrastate commerce. You operate in expected intrastate commerce when you drive a CMV only intrastate commerce activities. not transporting property requiring a hazardous materials place card, and was regularly employed in Texas in intrastate commerce prior to August 28, 1989. You operate a non-expected intrastate commerce when you drive a CMV only in intrastate commerce and are required to meet medical certification requirements. If you operate in both expected intrastate commerce and non-expected intrastate commerce, you must choose not expected intrastate commerce. 1.2.3 Self-certification statements. When completing an application for your CDL, you will be required to check the box next to the statement that describes your status. The actual statement on your application may vary from those shown below. Interstate non-expected, I will certify that I operate or expect to operate in intrastate commerce, that I am subject to and meet the federal medical card requirements under 489 CFR Part 391, and that I'm required to obtain a medical examiner certificate. Interstate expected, I certify that I operate or expect to operate in interstate commerce, but engage exclusively in transportation or operation expected under 49 CFR sections 390.3F, 391.2, 391.68, or 398.3 from all or parts of the qualification requirements of 49 CFR Part 391, semicolon. And that I am not required to obtain a medical examiner certificate. Intrastate non-expected, I certify that I operate or expect to operate entirely in intrastate commerce, that I am subject to and meet the medical requirements for my state, and that I am required to obtain a medical examiner's certificate. Intrastate expected, I certify that I operate or expect to operate entirely in intrastate commerce, that I am not subject to medical requirements for my state, and that I am not required to obtain a medical examiner's certificate. 1.3 CDL disqualifications. 1.3.1 General. You may not drive a commercial motor vehicle if you are disqualified for any reason. 1.3.2 Alcohol. Leaving the scene of an accident and commission of a felony. It is legal to operate a CMV if your blood alcohol concentration BAC is 0.04 or more. If you operate a CMV, you shall be deemed to have given your consent to alcohol testing. You will lose your CDL for at least 1 year for first offense for driving a CMV if your blood alcohol concentration is 0.04 or higher. Driving a CMV under the influence of alcohol, refusing to undergo blood alcohol testing, driving a CMV under the influence of a controlled substance, leaving the scene of an accident involving a CMV, committing a felony involving the use of a CMV, driving a CMV while the CDL is suspended, causing a fatality through negligent operation of a CMV. If you lose your CDL for at least 3 years, the offense occurs while you are operating a CMV that is place carded for hazardous material. You will lose your CDL for life for the second offense. You will lose your CDL for life if you use your CMV to commit a felony involving controlled substances. You will be put out of service for 24 hours if you have any deductible amount of alcohol under 0.04%. 1.3.3 Serious traffic violations. Serious traffic violations are excessive speeding 15 miles per hour or more above the posted speed limit, reckless driving, improper or erratic lane changes, following a vehicle too closely, traffic offenses committed in a CMV in connection with fatal traffic accidents, driving a CMV without obtaining a CDL, or having a CDL in the driver's possession and driving a CMV without the proper class of CDL and or endorsements. You will lose your CDL for at least 60 days if you committed 2 serious traffic violations within a 3-year period involving a CMV, for at least 120 days for 3 or more serious traffic violations within a 3-year period involving a CMV. 1.3.4 Violations of out-of-service orders. You will lose your CDL for at least 90 days if you committed your first violation of an out-of-service order, for at least 1 year if you have committed 2 violations of an out-of-service order in a 10-year period, for at least 3 years if you committed 3 or more violations of an out-of-service order in a 10-year period. 1.3.5 Railroad, highway, grade crossing violations. You will lose your CDL for at least 60 days for your first violation, for at least 120 days for your second violation within a 3-year period, for at least 1 year for your third violation within a 3-year period. These violations include violation of a federal, state, and local law or regulation pertaining to one of the following 6 offenses at a railroad, highway, grade crossing. For drivers who are not required to always stop, failing to stop before reaching the crossing if the tracks are not clear. For drivers who are not required to always stop, failing to slow down and check the tracks are clear of an approaching train. For drivers who are always required to stop, failing to stop before drivers driving onto the crossing. For all drivers failing to have sufficient space to drive completely through the crossing without stopping. For all drivers failing to obey a traffic control device or the directions of an enforcement official at the crossing. For all drivers failing to negotiate a crossing because of insufficient undercarriage clearance. 1.3.6 Hazardous materials, endorsement, background check, and disqualifications. If you require a hazardous material endorsement, you will be required to submit your fingerprints and be subject to a background check. You will be denied or you will lose your hazardous material endorsement if you are not a lawful permanent resident of the United States, renounce your United States citizenship, are wanted under indictment for certain felonies, have a conviction in military or civilian court for certain felonies, have been agitated as a mental defective or committed to a mental institution, are considered to pose a security threat as determined by the Transportation Security Administration, TSA. The background check procedures vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Your licensing agency will provide you with all the information you need to complete required TSA background check procedures. 1.3.7 Traffic violations in your personal vehicle. The Motor Carrier Safety Improvement Act, MCSIA, of 1999 requires a CDL holder to be disqualified from operating a commercial motor vehicle if the CDL holder has been convicted of certain types of moving violations in their personal vehicle. If you have privilege to operate your personal vehicle, if your privilege to operate your personal vehicle is revoked, canceled, or suspended due to violations or traffic control laws other than parking violations, you will lose your CDL driving privileges. If your privileges to operate your personal vehicle is revoked, canceled, or suspended due to alcohol controlled substances or felony violations, you will lose your CDL for 1 year. If you are convicted for a second violation in your personal vehicle or CMV, you will lose your CDL for life. If your license to operate your personal vehicle is not revoked, canceled, or suspended, you may not obtain a hardship license to operate a CMV. 1.4 Other CDL rules. There are federal and state rules that affect drivers operating CMVs in all states. Among them are, you cannot have more than one license. If you break this rule, a court may fine you up to $5,000 or put you in jail and keep you home state license and return any others. You must notify your employer within 30 days of your conviction of any traffic violations, except parking. This is true no matter what type of vehicle you were driving. You must notify your employer within 2 business days if your license is suspended, revoked, or canceled, or if you are disqualified from driving. You must give your employer information on all driving jobs and have held for the past 10 years. You must do this when you apply for a commercial driving job. No one can drive a commercial motor vehicle without a CDL. A court may fine you up to $5,000 or put you in jail for breaking this rule. If you have hazardous materials endorsement, you must notify and surrender your hazardous material endorsement to the state that issued your CDL within 24 hours of any conviction or indictment in the jurisdiction, civilian or military, for or found not guilty by reason of insanity of a disqualifying crime listed 49 CFR 157.2.103, who was agitated as a mental defective or committed to a mental institution as specified 49 CFR 157.2.109, or who renounces his or her U.S. citizenship. Your employer may not let you drive a commercial motor vehicle if you have more than one license or if your CDL is suspended or revoked. A court may fine the employer up to $5,000 or put him or her in jail for breaking this rule. All states are connected to one computerized system to share information about CDL drivers. The states will check on drivers' accident records to be sure that the drivers do not have more than one CDL. You are not allowed to hold a mobile telephone to conduct a voice communication or dial a mobile telephone by pressing more than a single button when driving. You are not allowed to read text messages while driving. You must be properly restrained by a safety belt at all times while operating a commercial motor vehicle. The safety belt design holds the driver securely behind the wheel during a crash, helping the driver to control the vehicle and reduces the chance of serious injury or death. If you do not wear your safety belt, you are 4 times more likely to be fatally injured if you are thrown from the vehicle. 1.5 International Registration Plan, International Fuel Tax Agreement. If you operate a CDL required vehicle in interstate commerce, the vehicle will be, with a few exceptions, is required to be registered under the International Registration Plan (IRP) and the International Fuel Tax Agreement (IFTA). These federally mandated programs provide for the equitable collection and distribution of vehicle license fees and motor fuel taxes for vehicle traveling throughout the 48 continuous United States and 10 Canadian provinces. Under the IRP, jurisdictions must register appropriate vehicles, which includes issues, license plates, and cab cards or proper credentials. Calculate, collect, and distribute IRP fees, audit carriers for accuracy of reporting distance and fees, and enforce IRP requirements. Registrant responsibilities under the plan include applying for IRP registration with base jurisdiction, providing proper documentation of registration, paying appropriate IRP registration fees properly, displaying registration credentials, maintaining accurate distance records, and making records available for jurisdiction review. The basic concept behind the IFTA is to allow a licensee motor carrier to license in a base jurisdiction for the reporting and payment of motor fuel use taxes. Under the IFTA, a licensee is issued one set of credentials which will authorize operations through all IFTA member jurisdictions. The fuel use taxes collected pursuant to the IFTA are calculated based on the number of miles, kilometers traveled, and the number of gallons, liters, consumed in the member's jurisdiction. The license files one quarterly tax return with a base jurisdiction by which the licensee will report all operations through the IFTA members' jurisdictions. It is the base jurisdiction's responsibility to remit the taxes collected to other member jurisdictions and to represent the other members' jurisdictions in the tax collection process, including the performance of audits. The IFTA license must retain records to support the information reported on the IFTA quarterly tax return. The IRP registrant and the IFTA licensee may be the vehicle owner or the vehicle operator. The requirement for acquiring IRP plates for a vehicle and IFT license for a motor carrier is determined by the definition from the IRP plan and the IFTA for qualified vehicle and qualified motor vehicle. For purposes of IRP, a qualified vehicle is, except as provided below, any power unit that is used or intended for use in two or more member jurisdictions and that is used for the transportation of persons for hire or designed, used, or maintained primarily for the transportation of property, and 1. Has two axles and a gross vehicle weight or registration gross vehicle weight in, number 2, excess of 26,000 pounds, 11,793.401 kilograms, or number 3, has 3 or more axles regardless of weight, or number 4, is used in combination with the gross vehicle weight of such combination exceeds 26,000 pounds, 11,793.401 kilograms. While similar, the qualified motor vehicle in IFTA means a motor vehicle used, designed, or maintained for transportations of persons or property, and number 1, having two axles and gross vehicle weight or registered gross vehicle weight exceeding 26,000 pounds or 11,797 kilograms, or number 2, is used in combination with the weight of such combination exceeds 26,000 pounds, 11,797 kilograms gross weight or registered gross vehicle weight. Qualified motor vehicle does not include recreational vehicles. If the vehicles you operate is registered under IRP and you are not IRP and you are a motor carrier licensed under IFTA, then you are required to comply with the mandatory record-keeping requirements for operating the vehicle. A universally accepted method of capturing this information is through the completion of an individual's vehicle distance record, IVDR, sometimes referred to as a driver's trip report. This document reflects the distance traveled and fuel purchased for a vehicle that operates interstate under apportioned IRP registration and IFTA fuel tax credentials. Although the actual format of the IVDR may vary, the information that is required for proper record keeping does not. In order to satisfy the requirements for individual vehicle distance records, these documents must include the following information. Vehicle distance. Distance. Per Article 4 of the IRP plan, number 1, date of trip, starting and ending. Number 2, trip origin and designation, city and state or province. Number 3, routes of travel. Number 4, beginning and ending odometer or hobometer reading of the trip. Number 5, total distance traveled. Number 6, in jurisdiction distance. Number 7, power unit number or vehicle identification number. Fuel. Per section P560 of the IFTA Procedures Manual .300, an acceptable receipt or invoice must include, but shall not be limited to, the following: 0.005 date of purchase, 0.010 seller's name and address, 0.015 number of gallons or liters purchased, 0.020 fuel type, 0.025 price per gallon or liter or total amount of sale. .030 unit number or other unique vehicle identifier. 0.035 purchase name. An example of an IVDR that must be completed in its entirety for each trip can be found in Figure 1 below. Each individual IVDR should be filled out for only one vehicle. The rules to follow when trying to determine how and when to log an odometer reading are the following. At the beginning of the day, when leaving the state or province, at the end of the trip day. Not only do the trips need to be logged, but the fuel purchases need to be documented as well. You must obtain a receipt for all fueling and include it with your completed IVDR. Make sure that any trips that you enter are always filled out in descending order and that your trips include all state provinces that you traveled through on your route. There are different routes that a driver may take, and most of the miles may be within one state or province. Whether or not the distance you traveled is primarily in one jurisdiction or spread among several jurisdictions, all information for the trip must be recorded. This includes the dates, the routes, odometer readings, and fuel purchases. By completing this document in full and keeping all records required by both the IRP and the IFTA, you will have ensured that you and your company are in compliance with all state and provincial laws surrounding fuel and distance records keeping requirements. The IVDR serves as the source document for the calculation of fees and taxes that are payable to the jurisdiction in which the vehicle is operated, so that these original records must be maintained for a minimum of 4 years. In addition, these records are subject to audit by the tax jurisdictions. Failure to maintain complete and accurate records could result in fines, penalty, and suspension or revocation of IRP registrations and IFT licenses. For additional information on the IRP and the requirements related to the IRP, contact your base jurisdiction motor vehicle department or IRP incorporation. The official repository of the IRP. Additional information can be found on the IRP Incorporation website at www.irponline.org. There is a training video on the website homepage available in English, Spanish, and French. For additional information on the IFTA and the requirements related to the IFTA, contact the appropriate agency in your base jurisdiction. You will also find useful information about their agreement at the official repository of the IFTA at http://www.iftach.org/index.php. Section 2. Driving safely. This section covers vehicle inspection, basic control of your vehicle, shifting gears, seeing, communicating, space management, controlling your speed, seeing hazards, distracted driving, aggressive drivers, road rage, night driving and driver's fatigue, driving in the fog, winter driving, hot weather driving, railroad highway crossings, mountain driving, driving emergencies, anti-lock braking systems, skid control and recovery, accident procedures, fires, alcohol, other drugs, and driving. Hazardous material rules. This section contains knowledge and safe driving information that all commercial drivers should know. You must pass a test on this information to get a CDL. This section does not have specific information on air brakes, combination vehicles, doubles, and passenger vehicles. When preparing for a vehicle inspection test, you must review the material in Section 11 in addition to the information in this section. This section does have basic information on hazardous materials, hazmat, that all drivers should know. If you need a hazmat endorsement, you should study Section 9. 2.1 Vehicle Inspection. 2.1.1 Why inspect? Safety is the most important reason you inspect your vehicle. Safety for yourself and for the road users. A vehicle defect found during an inspection could save your problems later. You could have a breakdown on the road that will cost time and dollars, or even worse, a crash caused by a defect. Federal and state laws require the driver inspect their vehicles. Federal and state inspectors also may inspect your vehicles. If they judge the vehicle to be unsafe, they will put it out of service until it is fixed. 2.1.2 Types of vehicle inspection. Vehicle inspection. A vehicle inspection will help you find problems that could cause a crash or breakdown during a trip. For safety, you should watch gauges for signs of trouble. Use your senses to check for problems. Look, listen, smell, feel. Check critical items when you stop. Tires, wheels and rims, brakes, lights and reflectors, brake and electrical connections to trailer coupling devices, cargo securement devices. After trip inspection and report. You should do an after trip inspection at the end of the trip day or tour of the duty on each vehicle you operate. It may be including filing out a vehicle condition report listing any problems you find. The inspection report helps a motor carrier know when the vehicle needs repairs. 2.1.3 What to look for. Tire problems. Too much or too little air pressure. Bad wear. You need at least 4 32-inch tread depth in every major groove on front tires. You need 2 32-inch on other tires. No fabric should show through the thread or sidewall. Cuts or other damages. Tread separation. Dual tires that come in contact with each other or parts of the vehicle. Mismatched sizes. Radial and bias ply tires used together. Cut or cracked valve stems. Regrooved, recapped, and retreaded tires on the front wheels of a bus are prohibited. Wheel and rim problems. Damaged rims. Rust around wheel nuts may mean the nuts are loose. Check tightness. After a tire has been changed, stop a short while later and recheck tightness of nuts. Missing clamps, spacers, studs, or lugs means danger. Mismatched, bent, or cracked lock rings are dangerous. Wheels or rims that have welding repairs are not safe. Bad brake drums or shoes. Cracked drums. Shoes or pads with oil, grease, or brake fluid on them. Shoes worn dangerously thin, missing, or broken. Steering system defects. Missing nuts, bolts, cotter keys, and other parts. Bent, loose, or broken parts such as steering column, steering gearbox, or tie rods. If power steering equipped, check hoses, pumps, and fluid level. Check for leaks. Steering wheel plate of more than 10 degrees, approximately 2 inches movement at the rim of a 20-inch steering wheel can make it hard to steer. Suspension system defects. The suspension system holds up the vehicle and its load. It keeps the axles in place. Therefore, broken suspension parts can be extremely dangerous. Look for spring hangers that allow movement of axle from proper position. See figure 2.2. Figure 2.2. Cracked or broken spring hangers. Missing or broken leaves in any leaf spring. If 1/4 or more are missing, it will put the vehicle out of service. But any defects could be dangerous. See figure 2.3. Safety defect, broken leaf in spring. Figure 2.3. Broken leaves in a multi-leaf spring or leaves that has shifted to, they might hit a tire or other part. Leaking shock absorbers. Torque rod or arm, U-bolts, spring hangers, or other axle positioning parts that are cracked, damaged, or missing. Air suspension system that are damaged and or leaking. See figure 2.4. Air suspension parts. Figure 2.4. Any loose, cracked, broken, or missing frame members. Exhaust system defects. A broken exhaust system can let poison fumes into the cab or sleeper berth. Look for loose, broken, or missing exhaust pipe mufflers, tailpipes, or vertical stacks. Choose broken or missing mounting brackets, clamps, bolts, or nuts. Exhaust system parts rubbing against fuel system parts, tires, or other moving parts of vehicle. Exhaust system part that are leaking. Emergency equipment. Vehicles must be equipped with emergency equipment. Look for extinguishers, spare electrical fuses, unless equipped with circuit breakers. Warning. Devices for parked vehicles. For example, 3 reflective warning triangles, or 6 fuses, or 3 liquid burning flares. Cargo. Trucks. You must make sure the truck is not overloaded and the cargo is balanced and secured before each trip. If the cargo contains hazardous material, you must inspect proper papers and place carding. 2.1.4 CDL Vehicle Inspection Test. In order to obtain a CDL, you will be required to pass a vehicle inspection test. You will be tested to see if you know whether your vehicle is safe to drive. You will be asked to do a vehicle inspection of your vehicle and explain to the examiner what you would inspect and why. The following 7-step inspection method should be useful. 2.1.5. 7-step inspection method. Method of inspection. You should do a vehicle inspection the same way each time so you will learn all the steps and be less likely to forget something. Approaching the vehicle. Notice. General condition. Look for damage or vehicle leaning to one side. Look under vehicle for fresh oil, coolant, grease, or fuel leaks. Check area around the vehicle for hazards to vehicle movement, people, other vehicles, object, low-hanging wires, limbs, etc. Vehicle inspection guide. Step 1. Vehicle overview. Review last vehicle inspection report. Drivers have to make sure a vehicle inspection report in writing each day. The motor carrier must repair any items in the report that affect safety and certify on the report that repairs were made or were unnecessary. You must sign the report only if defects were noted and certified to be repaired or not needed to be repaired. Step 2. Check engine compartment. Check the parking brakes are on and or wheels choked. You may have to raise the hood, tilt the cab, secure loose things so that don't fall and break something, or open the engine compartment door. Check the following: engine oil, coolant level in radiator, condition of hoses, power steering fluid, hose condition, if so equipped, windshield washer fluid level, battery fluid level, connections and tie downs. Battery may be located somewhere else. Automatic transmission fluid level. May require engine to be running. Check belts for tightness and excessive wear. Alternative water pump, air compressor. Learn how much give the belt should have when the adjusted right. And check each one. Leaks in the engine compartment. Fuel, coolant, oil, power steering fluid, hydraulic fluid, battery fluid, cracked, worn electrical wiring insulation, lower and secure hood, cab, or engine compartment door. Step 3. Start engine and inspect inside the cab. Get in and start engine. Make sure parking brake is on. Put gear shift in neutral or park if automatic. Start engine. Listen for unusual noises. If equipped, check the anti-lock braking system, ABS, indicator lights. Lights on a dash should come on and then turn off. If it stays on, the ABS is not working properly. For trailer only, if the yellow light on the left rear of the trailer stays on, the ABS is not working properly. Look at the gauges. Oil pressure should come up to normal within seconds after engine is started. See figure 2.5. Air pressure. Pressure should build from 50 to 90 psi within 3 minutes. Build air pressure to governor cut out usually around 120-140 psi. Know your vehicle requirements. Ammeter and volumeter should be in normal ranges. Coolant temperature should begin gradual rise to normal operating range. Engine oil temperature should begin gradual rise to normal operating range. Warning lights and buzzers, oil, coolant, charging circuit, warning, and anti-lock brake systems. Light should go out right away. Check condition of controls. Check all the following for looseness, sticking, damage, or improper setting. Steering wheel, clutch, accelerator, gas pedal, brake controls, foot brake, trailer brake, if vehicle has one, parking brake, retarder controls, if vehicle has them, transmission controls, interaxle differential lock, if vehicle has one, horns, windshield wiper, washers, lights, headlights, dimmer switch, turn signal, four-way flashers, parking, clearance identification, marker, switches. Low dropping, fluctuating. Stop immediately. Without the oil, the engine can be destroyed rapidly. Figure 2.5. Idling, 5-20 psi. Operating, 35-70 psi. Low dropping, fluctuating. Stop immediately. Without oil, the engine can be destroyed rapidly. Figure 2.1. Check mirrors and windshield. Check mirrors and windshield. Inspect mirrors and windshield for cracks, dirt, illegal stickers, or other obstructions to seeing clearly. Clean and adjust as necessary. Check emergency equipment. Check for safety equipment. Spare electrical fuses, unless vehicle has circuit breakers. 3 red reflective triangles, 6 fuses, or 3 liquid burning flares. Properly charged and rated fire extinguishers. Check for optional items such as chains, where winter conditions require, tire changing equipment, list of emergency phone numbers, accident reporting kit packet. Check safety belt. Check the safety belt is securely mounted. Adjust latches properly and is not ripped or frayed. Step 4. Turn off engine and check lights. Make sure the parking brake is set. Turn off the engine and take the key with you. Turn on headlights, low beams, and 4-way emergency flashers and get out of the vehicle. Step 5. Do walk around inspection. Go to the front of the vehicle and check that the low beams are on and both of the 4-way flashers are working. Push dimmer switch and check the high beams work. Turn off headlight and 4-way emergency flashers. Turn on parking, clearance side markers, and identification lights. Turn on right turn signal and start walking around inspection. General. Walk around and inspect. Clean all lights, reflectors, and glass you go along. Left front side. Driver's door glass should be clean. Door latches or locks should work properly. Left front wheel, condition of wheel and rim missing, bent broken studs, clamps, lugs, or any signs of misalignment. Condition of tires properly inflated. Valve stem and cap okay. No serious cuts, bulges, or tread wear. Use wrench to test rust streaked lug nuts indicating looselessness. Hub oil level okay. No leaks. Left front suspension. Condition of spring. Spring hangers, shackles, U-bolts. Shock absorber condition. Left front brake. Condition of brake. Drum or disc condition of hoses. Front. Condition of front axle. Condition of steering system. No loose, worn, bent, damaged, or missing parts. Must grab steering mechanism to test for looseness. Wheel condition of windshield. Check the damage and clean if dirty. Check windshield wiper arms for proper spring tension. Check wiper blades for damage, stiff rubber, and securement. Lights and reflectors. Parking, clearance, and identification lights clean, operating, and proper color, amber at the front. Reflectors, clean and proper color, amber at the front. Right front turn signal, light clean, operating and proper color, amber or white on signal facing forward. Right side. Right front. Check all items as done on the left front. Primary and secondary safety cab locks engaged. If cab over engine design. Right fuel tanks securely mounted, not damaged or leaking. Fuel crossover line secure. Tanks containing enough fuel. Caps on and secure. Condition of visible parts. Rear of engine not leaking. Transmission not leaking. Exhaust system secure. Not leaking. Not touching wires, fuel, or air lines. Frame and cross members no bends or cracks. Airlines and electrical wiring secured against snagging, rubbing, wearing. Spare tire carrier or rack not damaged, if so equipped. Spare tire and or wheel securely mounted in rack. Spare tire and wheel adequate, proper size, properly inflated. Cargo securement trucks. Cargo properly blocked, braced, tied, chained, etc. Header board adequate, secure if required. Sideboards, stakes strong enough free of damage, properly set in place if so equipped. Canvas or tarp if required, properly secured to prevent tearing, billowing, or blocking of mirrors. If oversized, all required signs, flags, lamps, and reflectors safely and properly mounted, and all required permits in driver's possession. Curbside cargo compartment door is good condition, securely closed, latched, locked, and required security seals in place. Right rear. Condition of wheels and rims, no missing bent or broken spacers, studs, clamps, or lugs. Condition of tires properly inflated. Valve stems and caps okay. No serious cuts, bulges, tread wear. Tires not rubbing on each other. Nothing stuck between them. Tires same type, e.g. non-mixed radial bias types. Tires evenly matched, same sizes. Wheel bearing seals not leaking. Suspension. Condition of springs, spring, hangers, shackles, and U-bolt. Turn on left signal lights. Get out and check lights. Turn left, turn signal light clean, operating and proper color, amber or white on signals facing the front. Left rear turn signal light and both stop lights clean, operating and proper color, red, yellow, or amber. Get in vehicle. Turn off lights not needed for driving. Check all required paper, trip manifests, permits, etc. Secure all loose articles in the cab. They might interfere with operation of the controls or hit you in a crash. Start the engine. Step 7. Start engine and check. Test for hydraulic leaks. If the vehicle has hydraulic brakes, pump the brake pedal 3 times. Then apply firm pressure to the pedal and hold for 5 seconds. The pedal should not move. If it does, there may be a leak or other problem. Get it fixed before driving. If the vehicle has air brakes, do the check described in section 5 and 6 of this manual. Brake system. Test parking brakes. Fasten safety belt. Set parking brake. Power unit only. Release trailer parking brake if applicable. Place vehicle into a low gear. Gently pull forward against parking brake to make sure the parking brakes hold. Permit the same steps for the trailer with trailer parking brake set and power unit parking brakes released, if applicable. If it does not hold vehicle, it is faulty. Get it fixed. Test service brake stopping action. Go about 5 miles per hour. Push brake pedal firmly. Pulling to one side or the other can mean brake trouble. Any unusual brake pedal feel or delayed stopping action can mean trouble. If you find anything unsafe during the vehicle inspection, get it fixed. Federal and state laws forbid operating an unsafe vehicle. 2.1.6 Inspection during a trip. Check vehicle operation regularly. You should check instruments, air pressure gauge, if you have air brakes, temperature gauges, pressure gauges, ammeter, volumeter, mirrors, tires, cargo covers, lights, etc. If you see, hear, smell, or feel anything that might mean trouble, check it out. Safety inspection. Drivers of trucks and truck tractors when transporting cargo must inspect the securement of the cargo within the first 50 miles of a trip and every 150 miles or every 3 hours, whichever comes first. After. 2.1.7 After trip inspection and report. You may have to make a written report each day on the condition of vehicles you drove. Report anything affecting safety or possibly leading to mechanical breakdown. Section 2.1 Test your knowledge. The vehicle inspection report tells the motor carrier about problems, what may need fixing. Keep a copy of your report in the vehicle for 1 day. That way, the next driver can learn about any problems you have found. 1. What is the most important reason for doing a vehicle inspection? 2. What things can you check during a trip? Name some key steering system parts. 4. Name some suspension system defects. 5. What 3 kinds of emergency equipment must you have? What is the minimum tread depth for front tires? For other tires? 7. Name something you should check on the front of your vehicle during the walk-around inspection. What should wheel bearings, seals be checked for? How many red reflective triangles should you carry? Number 10. How do you test hydraulic brakes for leaks? Why put the starter switch key in your pocket during the vehicle inspection? These questions may be on your test. If you can't answer them all, reread subsection 2.1. 2.2 Basic controls of your vehicle. To drive a vehicle safely, you must be able to control its speed and direction. Safe operation of a commercial vehicle requires skill in accelerating, steering, stopping, backing safely. Fasten your seatbelt when on the road. Apply parking brake when you leave your vehicle. 2.2.1 Accelerating. Don't roll back when you start. You may hit someone behind you. If you hit manual transmission vehicle, partly engage the clutch before you take right foot off the brake. Put on the parking brake whenever necessary to keep from rolling back. Release the parking brake only when you have applied enough engine power to keep from rolling back. On a tractor trailer equipped with a trailer brake hand valve, the hand valve can be applied to keep from rolling back. Speed up smoothly and gradually so that the vehicle does not jerk. Rough acceleration can cause mechanical damage. When pulling a trailer, rough acceleration can damage the coupling. Speed up very gradually when the traction is poor, as in rain or snow. If you see too much power, the drive wheels may spin. You could lose control. If the drive wheels begin to spin, take your foot off the accelerator. Hold the steering wheel firmly with both hands. Your hands should be on the opposite side of the wheel. If you hit a curb or a pothole, chuck hole, the wheel could pull away from your hands unless you have a firm hold. 2.2.3 Stopping. Push the brake pedal down gradually. The amount of brake pressure you need to stop the vehicle will depend on the speed of the vehicle and how quickly you need to stop. Control the pressure so the vehicle comes to a smooth, safe stop. If you have a manual transmission, push the clutch in when the engine is close to idle. 2.2.4 Backing safely. Because you cannot see everything behind your vehicle, backing is always dangerous. Avoid backing whenever you can. When you park, try to park so you will be able to pull back forward when you leave. When you have to back, here are a few simple safety rules. Start in the proper position. Look at your path. Use mirrors on both sides. Back slowly. Back and turn toward the vehicle side whenever possible. Help a helper whenever possible. Use a helper whenever possible. These rules are discussed in term below. Start in proper position. Put the vehicle in the best position to allow you to back safely. This position will depend on the type of backing to be done. Look at your path. Look at your path. Look at your line of travel before you begin. Get out and walk around the vehicle. Check your clearance to the sides and overhead. In your near path, your vehicle will take. Use mirrors on both sides. Check the outside mirror on both sides frequently. Get out of the vehicle and check your path if you aren't sure. Back slowly. Always back slowly as possible. Use the slowest reverse gear. That way you can more easily correct the steering errors. You always can stop quickly if necessary. Back turn and turn toward the driver's side. Back to the driver's side so that you can see better. Backing towards the right side is very dangerous because you can't see as well. If you back and turn towards the driver's side, you can watch the rear of your vehicle by looking out the side window. Use driver's side backing, even if it means going around the block to put your vehicle in this position. This added safety is worth it. Use a helper. Use a helper when you can. There are blind spots you can't see. That's why a helper is important. The helper should stand near the back of the vehicle where you can see the helper before you begin backing. Work out a set of hand signals that you both understand, agree on, and a signal for stop. 2.3 Shifting gears. Correct shifting of gears is important. If you can't get your vehicle into the right gear while driving, you will have less control. 2.3.1 Manual transmissions. Basic method for shifting up. Most heavy vehicles with manual transmissions require double clutch to change gears. This is basic method. Release accelerator, push in clutch, and shift to neutral at the same time. Release clutch, let engine and gear slow down to the RPM required to the next gear. This takes practice. Push in clutch and shift to the higher gear at the same time. Release clutch and press accelerator at the same time. Shifting gears using double clutching requires practice. If you remain too long in neutral, you may have difficulty putting the vehicle into the next gear. If so, don't try to force it. Return to neutral, release clutch. Increase engine speed to match road speed, and try again. Knowing when to shift up. There are two ways of knowing when to shift. Use engine speed, RPM. Study the driver's manual for your vehicle and learn the operating RPM range. Watch your tachometer and shift up when your engine reaches the top of the range. Some newer vehicles use progressive shifting. The RPM at which you shift becomes higher as you move up in the gears. Find out what's right for the vehicle you operate. Use road speed, MPH. Learn what speeds each gear is good for you. Then by using the speedometer, you'll know when to shift up. With either method, you may learn to use engine sounds to know when to shift. Basic procedures for shifting down: release accelerator, push in clutch and shift to neutral at the same time. Release clutch, press accelerator, increase engine gear speed to the RPM required to lower gear. Push in clutch and shift lower gear at the same time. Release clutch and press accelerator at the same time. Downshifting like upshifting requires knowing when to shift. Use either the tachometer or the speedometer and downshift at the right RPM or road speed. Special conditions where you should downshift are: before starting down a hill, slowing down and shifting down to a speed that you can control without using the brakes hard. Otherwise, the brakes can overheat and lose their braking power. Downshift before starting down the hill. Make sure you are in a low enough gear, usually lower than the gear required to climb the hill. Before entering a curve, slow down to a safe speed and downshift to the right gear before entering the curve. This lets you use some power through the curve to help the vehicle be more stable while turning. It also allows you to speed up as soon as you're out of the curb. 2.3.2 Multi-speed rear axles and auxiliary transmissions. Multi-speed rear axles and auxiliary transmissions are used on many vehicles to provide extra gears. You usually control them by selector knob or switch on the gear shift level or the main transmission. There are many different shift patterns. Learn the right way to shift gears in the vehicle you will drive. Automatic transmissions. Some vehicles have automatic transmissions. You can select a low range to get greater engine braking when going down grades. The lower range prevents the transmission from shifting up beyond the selected gear. Unless the governor RPM is exceeded, it is very important to use this braking effect when going down grades. 2.3.4 Retarders. Some vehicles have retarders. Retarders help slow a vehicle, reducing the need for using your brakes. They reduce brakes, wear, and give you another way to slow down. There are 4 basic types of retarders. exhaust, engine, hydraulic, and electric. All retarders can be turned on or off by the driver. On some vehicles, the retarder's power can be adjusted. When turned on, retarders apply their braking power to the driver's wheels only. When you let up on the accelerator pedal all the way. Because these devices can be noisy, be sure you know where their use is permitted. Caution: when you drive wheels have poor traction, the retarder may cause them to skid. Therefore, you should turn the retarder off when the road is wet, icy, or snow covered. Subsections 2.2 and 2.3. Test your knowledge. Question 1. Why should you back towards the driver's side? Number 2. If stopped on a hill, how can you start moving without rolling back? When backing, why is it important to use a helper? Number 4. What is the most important hand signal that you and your helper should agree on? What are the 2 special conditions where you should downshift? When should you downshift automatic transmissions? Number 7. The road is slippery. True or false? Retarders keep you from skidding when the road is slippery. True or false? 8. What are 2 ways to know when to shift? These questions may be on the test. If you can't answer them all, reread subsections 2.2 and 2.3. 2.4. Seeing. To be a safe driver, you need to know what's going on all around your vehicle. Not looking properly is a major cause for accidents. 2.4.1. Seeing ahead. All drivers look ahead, but many don't look far enough ahead. Importance of looking far enough ahead. Because stopping or changing lanes can take a lot of distance, knowing what the traffic is doing on all sides of you is very important. You need to look well ahead to make sure you have room to make these moves safely. How far ahead do you look? Most good drivers look at least 12 to 15 seconds ahead. That means looking ahead, the distance you will travel 12 to 15 seconds. At lower speeds, that's about 1 block. At highway speeds, it's about a quarter of a mile. If you're not looking that far ahead, you may have to stop too quickly or make quick lane changes. Looking 12 to 15 seconds ahead doesn't mean not paying attention to things that are closer. Good drivers shift their attention back and forth, near and far. Figure 2.6 illustrates how far to look ahead. "12 to 15 seconds is about 1 block. 12 to 15 seconds is about a quarter mile. Figure 2.6. Look for traffic. Look for vehicles coming onto the highway into your lane or turning. Watch for brake lights from slowing vehicles. By seeing these things far enough ahead, you can change your speed or change lanes if necessary to avoid a problem. If a traffic light has been green for a long time, it is probably changed before you can get there. Start slowing down and be ready to stop. 2.4.2. Seeing the sides and rear. It's important to know what's going on behind and to the sides. Check your mirrors regularly. Check more often in special situations. Mirror adjustment. Mirror adjustment should be checked prior to the start of any trip and can only be checked accurately when the trailers are straight. You should check and adjust each mirror to show some part of the vehicle. This gives you a reference point for judging the position of the other images. Regular checks. You need to make regular checks of your mirrors to be aware of traffic and to check your vehicle. Traffic. Check your mirrors for traffic for vehicles on either side of and in back of you. And in an emergency, you may need to know whether you can make a quick lane change. Use your mirrors to spot overtaking vehicles. There are blind spots that your mirrors cannot show you. Check your mirrors regularly to know where other vehicles are around you and to see if you can move into your blind spots. Check your vehicle. Use the mirrors to keep an eye on your tires. It's one way to spot a tire fire. If you're carrying open cargo, you can use the mirrors to check it. Look for close straps, ropes, and chains. Watching for a flapping or ballooning tarp. Special situations. Special situations require more than regular mirror checks. These are lane changes, turns, merges, and tight maneuvers. Lane changes. You need to check your mirror to make sure no one is alongside you or about to pass you. Check your mirrors before you change lanes to make sure there is enough room. After you have signaled to check that no one has moved into your blind spot, right after you start the lane change, double check that your path is clear after you complete the lane change. Turns. In turns, check your mirrors to make sure the rear of your vehicle will not hit anything. Merges. When merging, use mirrors to make sure the gap in traffic is large enough for you to enter safely. Tight maneuvers. Anytime you are driving in close quarters, check your mirrors often. Make sure you have enough clearance. How to use mirrors. Use mirrors correctly by checking them quickly and understanding what you see. When you use your mirrors while driving on the road, check quickly. Look back and forth between the mirrors and the road ahead. Don't focus on the mirrors for too long. Otherwise, you will travel quite a distance without knowing what's happening ahead. Many large vehicles have curved, convex fisheye, spot bug eye mirrors that show a wider area than flat mirrors. This is often helpful, but everything appears smaller in a convex mirror than it would if you were looking at it directly. Things also seem farther away than they really are. It's important to realize this and allow for it. Figure 2.7 shows the field of vision using convex mirror. Field of vision using a convex mirror. Figure 2.7. Communicating. 2.5. 2.5.1. Signal your intentions. Other drivers can know what you are going to do and can't know what you're going to do until you tell them. Signaling what you intend to do is important for safety. Here are some general rules for signaling. Turns. There are 3 good rules for using turn signals. Signal early. Signal well before you turn. It is the best way to keep others from trying to pass you. Signal continuously. You need both hands on the wheel to turn safely. Don't cancel a signal until you have completed the turn. Cancel your signal. Don't forget to turn off your turn signal after you've turned. If you don't have self-canceling signals. Lane changes. Put your turn signal on before changing lanes. Change lanes slowly and smoothly. That way a driver you didn't see may have a chance to honk his horn or avoid your vehicle. Slowing down. Warn drivers behind you when you see you'll need to slow down. A few light taps on the brake pedal enough to flash the brakes lights should warn following drivers. Use the four-way emergency flashers 4 times when you are driving very slowly or are stopped. Warn other drivers in any of the following situations. Trouble ahead. The size of a vehicle may make it hard for other drivers behind you to see hazards ahead. If you see a hazard that will require slowing down, warn the driver behind you by flashing your brake lights. Tight turns. Most car drivers don't know how slowly you have to go to make a tight turn in a large vehicle. Give drivers behind you warning by braking early and slowing gradually. Stopping on the road. Truck and bus drivers sometimes stop in the roadway to unload cargo or passengers, or to stop at a railroad crossing. Warn following drivers by flashing your brake lights. Don't stop suddenly. Driving slowly. Drivers often do not realize how fast they are catching up to a slow vehicle until they are very close. If you must drive slowly, alert following drivers by turning on your emergency flashers. If it is legal, laws regarding the use of flashers differ from one state to another. Check the laws of the states when you will drive. Don't direct traffic. Some drivers try to help out others by signaling when it is safe to pass. You should not do this. You could cause an accident. You could be blamed and it cost you many thousands of dollars. 2.5.2 Communicating your presence. Other drivers may not notice your vehicle even when it is plain in sight. To help prevent accidents, let them know you're there. When passing, whenever you are about to pass a vehicle, pedestrian, or bicyclist, assume they didn't see you. They could suddenly move in front of you. When it is legal, tap the horn lightly, or at night, flash your lights from low to high beam. And back and drive carefully enough to avoid a crash, even if you don't see or hear you. When it's hard to see, at dawn, dusk, in rain or snow, you need to make yourself easier to see. If you are having trouble seeing other vehicles, other drivers will have trouble seeing you. Turn on your lights. Use your headlights, not just your identification of clearance lights. Use the low beams. High beams can bother people in the daytime as well as at nighttime. While parked at the side of the road, when you pull off the road and stop, be sure to turn on the 4-way emergency flashers. This is important at night. Don't trust the tail lights. Give warning. Drivers have crashed into the rear of a parked vehicle because they thought it was moving normally. If you must stop on the road or on the shoulder, if any road, you must put on your emergency warning device within 10 minutes. Place your warning device at the following locations. If you must stop on or by one-way or divided highway, place warning devices 10 feet or 100 feet and 200 feet toward the approaching traffic. See figure 2.8. If you stop on a 2-lane road carrying traffic in both directions, or on an undivided highway, place warning devices within 10 feet of the front of the rear corners to mark the location of the vehicle and 100 feet behind and ahead of the vehicle, on the shoulder, or in the lane you stopped in. See Figure 2.9. Figure 2.9. Back beyond any hill. Back beyond any hill, curve, or other obstruction that prevents other drivers from seeing the vehicle within 500 feet. If the line of sight view is obstructed due to hill or curve, move the rearmost triangle to a point back toward the road so a warning is provided. See Figure 2.10. When putting out the triangles, hold them between yourself and the oncoming traffic for your own safety, so other devices can see you. Use your horn when needed. Your horn can let others know when you're there. It can help to avoid a crash. Use your horn when needed. However, it can startle others and be dangerous when used unnecessarily. 2.6. Controlling speed. Driving too fast is a major cause of fatal crashes. You must adjust your speed depending on driving conditions. These include tractions, curves, visibility, traffic, and hills. 2.6.1. Stopping distance. Perception distance plus reaction distance plus braking distance equals stopping distance. Perception distance. The distance your vehicle travels in ideal conditions from the time your eyes see a hazard until your brain recognizes it. Keep in mind, certain mental and physical conditions can affect your perception distance. It can be affected greatly depending on visibility and the hazard itself. The average perception time for an alert driver is 1 3/4 seconds. At 55 miles per hour, this accounts for 142 feet traveled. Reaction distance. The distance you will continue to travel, the ideal conditions before you physically hit the brakes in response to a hazard seen ahead. The average driver can have a reaction time of 3/4 of a second to 1 second. At 55 miles per hour, this accounts for 61 feet traveled. Braking distance, the distance your vehicle will travel in ideal conditions while you are braking at 55 miles per hour on dry pavement with good brakes. It can take about 216 feet. Total stopping distance. The total minimum distance your vehicle has traveled. In ideal conditions, with everything considered, including perception distance, reaction distance, and braking distance, you can bring your vehicle to a complete stop at 55 miles per hour. Your vehicle will travel a minimum of 419 feet. See Figure 2.11. IC reduction speed to a crawl and stop driving as soon as you can safely do so. Identifying slippery surfaces. Sometimes it's hard to know if the road is slippery. Here are some signs of slippery roads. Shaded areas. Shaded parts of the road will remain icy and slippery along after open areas have melted. Bridges. When the temperature drops, bridges will freeze before the road will. Be especially careful when the temperature is close to 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Melting ice. Slight melting will make ice wet. Wet ice is much more slippery than ice that is not wet. Black ice. Black ice is a thin layer that is clear enough that you can see the road underneath it. It makes the road look wet. Anytime the temperature is below freezing and the road looks wet Watch out for black ice. Vehicle icing. An easy way to check for ice: to open the window and feel the front of the mirror support or antenna. If there's ice on these, the road surface is probably starting to ice up. Just after rain begins. Right after it starts to rain, the water mixes with oil left on the road by vehicles. This makes the road very slippery. If the rain continues, it will wash the oil away. Hydroplaning. In some weather, water or slush collects on the road. When this happens, your vehicle will hydroplane. It's like water skiing. The tires lose their contact with the road and have little or no traction. You may not be able to steer or brake. You can regain control by releasing the accelerator and pushing in the clutch. This will slow your vehicle and let the wheels turn freely. If the vehicle is hydroplaning, do not use the brakes to slow it down. If the drive wheels start to skid, push the clutch to let them turn freely. It does not take a lot of water to cause hydroplaning. Hydroplaning can occur at speeds as low as 30 miles per hour. If there is a lot of water, hydroplaning is more likely if tire pressure is low or the tread is worn. The grooves in the tire carry away the water. If they aren't deep, they don't work well. The effect of speed on stopping distance. The faster you drive, the greater the impact or striking power of your vehicle. When you double your speed from 20 to 40 miles per hour, the impact is 4 times greater. The braking distance is also 4 times longer. Triple the speed from 20 to 60 miles per hour, and the impact and braking distance is 9 times greater. At 60 miles per hour, your stopping distance is greater than the length of a football field. Increase the speed to 80 miles per hour, and the impact and braking distance are 16 times greater than 20 miles per hour. High speeds greater increase the severity of crashes and stopping distances. By slowing down, you can reduce braking distance. The effect of vehicle weight on stopping distance. The heavier the vehicle, the more work the brakes must do to stop it, and the more heat they absorb. But the brake tires, springs, and shock absorbers on heavy vehicles are designed to work best when the vehicle is fully loaded. Empty trucks require greater stopping distance because an empty vehicle has less traction. 2.6.2 Matching speed to the road surface. You can't steer or brake a vehicle unless you have traction. Traction is friction between the tires and the road. There are some road conditions that reduce traction and call for lower speeds. Slippery surfaces. It will take longer to stop, and it will be harder to turn without skidding when the road is slippery. Wet roads can double stopping distance. You must drive slower to be able to stop in the same distance as on dry road. Reduce speed by about 1/3. Slower from 55 about to 35 on wet road. On packed snow, reduce speed by half or more. If the surface is icy, reduce speed to a crawl and stop driving as soon as you can safely do so. It does not take a lot of water to cause hydroplaning. Hydroplaning can occur at speeds as low as 30 miles per hour. If there are a lot of water, hydroplaning is more likely if tire pressure is low or the tread is worn. The grooves in the tire carry away the water. If they aren't deep, they don't work well. Road surfaces. Where water can create conditions that cause a vehicle to hydroplane. Watch for clear reflections, tire splashes, and raindrops on the road. These are indicators of standing water. Speed and curves. 2.6.3 Drivers must adjust their speed for curves in the road. If you take a curve too fast, two things can happen. The tires can lose their traction and continue straight ahead, so you skid off the road, or the tires may keep their traction and the vehicle rolls over. Tests have shown that trucks have a high center of gravity, can roll over the posted speed limit for a curve. Slow to save speed before enter a curve. Braking in a curve is dangerous because it is easier to lock the wheels and cause a skid. Slow down as needed. Don't ever exceed the posted speed limit for a curve. Be in gear that will let you accelerate slightly in the curve. This will help you keep control. 2.6.4 Speed and distance ahead. You should always be able to stop within the distance you can see ahead. Fog, rain, or other conditions may require that you slow to be able to stop in the distance you can see. At night, you can't see as far with low beams as you can with high beams. When you must use low beams, slow down. 2.6.5 Speed and low traffic flow. When you're driving in a heavy traffic, the safest speed is the speed of other vehicles. Vehicles going the same direction at the same speed are not likely to run into one another. In many states, speeds limit are lower for trucks and buses than for cars. It can vary so much as 15 miles per hour. Use extra caution when you change lanes or pass these roadways. Drive at the speed of the traffic if you can without going at an illegal or unsafe speed. Keep a safe following distance. The main reason drivers exceed speed limit is to save time, but anyone trying to drive faster than the speed of the traffic will not be able to save much time. The risks involved are not worth it. If you go faster than the speed of the traffic, you'll have to keep passing other vehicles. This increases the chance of a crash and is more tiring. Fatigue increases the chance of a crash. Going with the flow of traffic is safer and easier. 2.6.6 Speed and downgrades. Your vehicle speed will increase on downgrades because of gravity. Your most important objective is to select and maintain a speed that is not too fast for the total weight of the vehicle and cargo, length of the grade, steepness of the grade, road conditions, and weather. If a speed limit is posted or there is a sign indicating maximum safe speed, never exceed the speed shown. Also, look for head warning signs indicating the length and steepness of the grade. You must use the braking effect of the engine as a principal way of conducting your speed on downgrades. The braking effect of the engine is the greatest when it is near the governed RPMs and the transmission is in lower gears. Save your brakes so you will be able to slow your stop as required by road and traffic conditions. Shift your transmission to a low gear before starting down the grade and use the proper braking techniques before. Please read carefully the section on going down long steep downgrades safely in mountain drivings. 2.6.7 Roadway work zones. Speeding traffic is the number one cause of injury and death in roadway work zones. Observe the posted speed limits at all times when approaching a driving through a work zone. Watch your speedometer and don't allow your speed to creep up as you drive through long sections of road construction. Decrease your speed for adverse weather or road conditions. Decrease your speed even further when a worker is close to the roadway. Subsections 2.4, 2.5, and 2.6. Test your knowledge. Question number 1. How far ahead does the manual say you should look? Question number 2. What are two main things to look for ahead? Question number 3. What's your most important way to see sides and rear of your vehicle? Question number 4. What does communicating mean in safe driving? Question number 5. Where should you place reflectors when stopped on a dividing highway? Question number 6. What 3 things add up to total stopping distance? Question number 7. If you go twice as fast, will your stopping distance increase by 2 or 4 times? Question number 8. Empty trucks have the best braking. True or false? Question number 9. What is hydroplaning? Question number 10. What is black ice? These questions may be on your test. If you can't answer them all, reread subsections 2.4, 2.5, and 2.6. Managing space. To be a safe driver, you need space all around your vehicle. When things go wrong, space gives you time to think and to take action. To have space available when something goes wrong, you need to manage space. While this is true for all drivers, it is very important for large vehicles. They take up more space and they require more space for stopping and turning. 2.7.1. Space ahead. Of all the space around your vehicle, it is the area ahead of the vehicle, the space you're driving into, that is most important. The need for space ahead. You need space ahead in case you must suddenly stop. According to accident reports, the vehicle that trucks and buses most often run into is the one in front of them, the most frequent cause in following too closely. Remember, if the vehicle ahead of you is smaller than you, it can probably stop faster than you can. So, you may crash if you are following too closely. How much space? How much space should you keep in front of you? One good rule says you need at least 1 second for each 10 feet of vehicle length at speeds below 40 miles per hour. At greater speeds, you must add 1 second for safety. For example, if you are driving a 40-foot vehicle, you should leave 4 seconds between you and the vehicle ahead. In a 60-foot rig, you need 6 seconds. Over 40 miles per hour, you would need 5 seconds for a 40-foot vehicle and 7 seconds for a 60-foot vehicle. See figure 2.12. To know how much space you need, wait until the vehicle ahead passes a shadow on the road, a pavement marking, or something other clear landmark. Then count off the seconds like this: 1 1,000, and 1 1,000, 2 1,000, and so on, until you reach the same spot. Compare your count with the rule of 1 second for every 10 feet of length. If you are driving a 40-foot truck and only counted up to 2 seconds, you're too close. Drop back a little and count again until you have 4 seconds of following distance. Or 5 seconds if you're going over 40 miles per hour. After a little practice, you'll know how far you should be. Remember to add 1 second for speeds above 40 miles per hour. Also, remember that when the road is slippery, you need much more space to stop. Heavy vehicle formula for timed interval following distance. 1 second required for each 10 feet of vehicle length at speeds under 40 miles per hour. above 40 miles per hour. Use same formula, then add 1 second for the additional speed. 40-foot truck under 40 miles per hour equals 44 seconds. 50-foot truck above 40 miles per hour equals 6 seconds. 60-foot truck under 40 miles per hour equals 6 seconds. 2.7.2 Space behind. You can't stop others from following you too closely, but there are things you can do to make it safer. Stay to the right. Heavy vehicles are often tailgated when they can't keep up with the speed of the traffic. This often happens when you're going uphill. If a heavy load is slowing you down, stay in the right lane if you can. Going uphill, you should not pass another slow vehicle unless you can get around quickly and safely. Dealing with tailgaters safely. In a large vehicle, it's often hard to see whether a vehicle is close behind you. You may be tailgated. When you are traveling slowly, drivers trapped behind slow vehicles often follow closely. In bad weather, many car drivers follow large vehicles closely during bad weather, especially when it is hard to see the road ahead. If you find yourself being tailgated, here are some things you can do to reduce the chances of a crash. Avoid quick changes. If you have to slow down or turn signal early and reduce speed very gradually, increase your following distance. Increase your following distance. Opening up room in front of you will help you to avoid having to make sudden speed or direction changes. It also makes it easier for a tailgater to get around you. Don't speed up. It's safer to be tailgated at low speed than a high speed. Avoid tricks. Don't turn on your tail lights or flash your brake lights. Follow the suggestion above. 2.7.3 Space to the sides. Commercial vehicles are often wide and take up most of a lane. Safe drivers will manage what little space they have. You can do this by keeping your vehicle centered in your lane and avoid driving alongside others. Staying centered in your A lane. You need to keep your vehicle centered in the lane to keep safe clearance on either side. If your vehicle is wide, you will have little room to spare, traveling next to others. There are two dangers in traveling alongside other vehicles. Another driver may change lanes suddenly and turn into you. You may be trapped when you need to change lanes. Find an open spot where you aren't near other traffic. When traffic is heavy, it may be hard to find an open spot. If you must travel near other vehicles, try to keep as much space as possible between you and them. Also, drop back or pull forward so that you are sure that other drivers can see you. Strong winds. Strong winds make it difficult to stay in your lane. The problem is usually worse for lighter vehicles. The problem can be especially bad coming out of tunnels. Don't drive alongside others if you can avoid it. Space overhead. 2.7.4 Space overhead. Hitting overhead objects is a danger. Make sure you always have overhead clearance. Don't assume that heights posted at bridges and overpass are correct. Repaving or packed snow may have reduced the clearance since the heights were posted. The weight of a cargo van changes its height. An empty van is higher than a loaded one. That you got under a bridge when you were loaded does not mean that you can do it when you are empty. If you doubt you have safe space to pass under an object, Go slowly. If you aren't sure you can make it, take another route. Warnings are often posted on low bridges or underpasses, but sometimes they are not. Some roads can cause a vehicle to tilt. There can be a problem clearing objects along the edge of the road, such as signs, trees, or bridge supports. Where this is a problem, drive a little closer to the center of the road. Before you back into an area, get out and check for overhanging objects such as tree branches or electrical wires. It's easy to missing them while you are backing. Also, check for hazards at the same time. 2.7.5 Space below. Many drivers forget about the space under their vehicles. That space can be very small when a vehicle is heavy loaded. This is often a problem on dirt roads and in unpaved yards. Don't take a chance on getting hung up. Drainage channels across roads can cause the end of some vehicles to drag. Cross such depressions carefully. Railroad tracks can also cause problems, particularly when pulling trailers with a low underneath clearance. Don't take a chance on getting hung up halfway across. 2.7.6 Place for turns. The place around a truck or bus is important in turns. Because of wide turning, off-tracking large vehicles can hit other vehicles or objects during turns. Right turns. Here are some rules to help prevent right turn crashes. Turn slowly to give yourself and others more time to avoid problems. If you are driving a truck or bus that cannot make the right turn without swinging into another lane, turn wide as you complete the turn. Keep the rear of your vehicle close to the curb. This will stop other drivers from passing you on the right. Don't turn wide to the left as you start the turn. A following driver may think you are turning left and try to pass you on the right. You may crash into the other vehicle as you complete your turn. If you must cross into oncoming traffic lane to make a turn, watch out for vehicles coming towards you, giving them room to go by or stop. However, don't back up for them because you might hit someone behind you. See figure 2.13. Left turns. On a left turn, make sure you have reached the center of the intersection before you start the left turn. If you turn too soon, the left side of the vehicle may hit another vehicle because of off-tracking. If there are two turning lanes, always take the right turning lane. Don't start in the inside lane because you have to swing right to make the turn. Drivers on your left can be more readily seen. See figure 2.14. 2.7.7 Space needed to cross or enter traffic. Beware of the size and weight of your vehicle when you cross and enter traffic. Here are some important things to keep in mind. Because of slow acceleration and the space large vehicles require, you may need a much larger gap to enter traffic than you would in a car. Acceleration varies with the load. Allow more room if your vehicle is heavily loaded. Because you start across a road, make sure you can get all the way across before traffic reaches you. 2.8 Seeing hazards. 2.81 Importance of seeing hazards. What is a hazard? A hazard is any road condition or other road users, drivers, bicyclists, pedestrians that is a possible danger. For example, a car in front of you is headed towards a freeway exit, but its brake lights come on and he begins braking hard. This can mean that the driver is uncertain about taking the off ramp, but he might suddenly return to the highway. This car is a hazard. If the driver of the car cuts in front of you, it is no longer just a hazard. It is an emergency. Seeing hazards lets you be prepared. You will have more time to act if you see hazards before they become emergencies. In the example above, you might make a lane change or slow down to prevent a crash if the car suddenly cuts in front of you. Seeing the hazard gives you time to check your mirrors and signals a lane change. Being prepared reduces the danger, and a driver who did not see the hazard until the slow car pulled back on the highway in front of him would have to do something very suddenly. Sudden braking or a quick lane change is much more likely to lead to a crash. Learning to see hazards. There are often clues that will help you see hazards. The more you drive, the better you can learn to see hazards. This section will talk about hazards that you should be aware of. 2.8.2 Hazardous roads. Move over laws. The incidence of law enforcement officers, emergency medical services, fire department personnel, and people working on the road are being stuck while performing duties at the roadside are increasing at a frightening pace. To lessen the problem, move over laws have been enacted, which requires drivers to drive slow and change lanes when approaching a roadside incident or emergency vehicle. Signs are posted on the roadways in states that have such laws. When approaching an unauthorized emergency vehicle stopped on the roadside or work zone, you should proceed with caution by slowing and yielding the right-of-way by making a lane change into a lane not next to that of the authorized emergency vehicle or work zone if safety and traffic conditions permit. If a lane change is unsafe, slow down and proceed with caution while maintaining a safe speed for traffic conditions. Slow down and be very careful if you see any of the following road hazards. Work zones. When people are working on the road, it is a hazard. There may be narrow lanes, sharp turns, or even uneven surfaces. Other drivers are often distracted and drive unsafely. Workers and construction vehicles may get in the way. Drive slowly and carefully near work zones. Use your four-way flashers or brake lights to warn drivers behind you. Drop off. Sometimes the pavement drops off sharply near the edge of the road. Driving too near the edge can tilt your vehicle toward the side of the road. This can cause the top of your vehicle to hit roadside objects, signs, trees, limbs. Also, it can be hard to steer as you cross the drop-off, going off the road or coming back on. Foreign objects. Things that have fallen on the road can be hazardous. They can be a danger to your tires and wheels, rims. They can damage electrical brake lines. They can be caught between dual tires and cause severe damage. Some obstacles that appear to be harmless can be very dangerous. For example, cardboard boxes may be empty, but they may also contain some solid or heavy material capable of causing damage. The same is true of paper and cloth sacks. It is important to remain alert for objects of all sorts so you can see them early enough to avoid them without making sudden unsafe moves. Off ramps, on ramps. Freeway and turnpike exits can be particularly dangerous for commercial vehicles. Off-ramps, on-ramps often have speed limit signs posted. Remember, the speeds may be safe for automobiles, but not safe for larger vehicles or heavily loaded vehicles. Exits that go downhill and turn at the same time can be especially dangerous. The downgrade makes it difficult to reduce speeds. Braking and turning at the same time can be a dangerous practice. Make sure you are going slowly enough before you get on the curve, part of an off-ramp or an on-ramp. .8.3 Drivers who are hazards. In order to protect yourself and others, you must know when others drivers may do something hazardous. Some clues of this type of hazards are discussed below. Blocked vision. People who can't see others are a very dangerous hazard. Be alert for drivers whose vision is blocked. Vans, loading station wagons, and cars with rear windows blocked are examples. Rental trucks should be watched carefully. Their drivers are often used to the limited vision they have to the sides and rear of the truck. In winter, vehicles with frosted ice-covered or snow-covered windows are hazards. Vehicles may be partly hidden by blind intersections or alleys. If you can see the rear of a front end of a vehicle but not the driver, then he or she can't see you. Be alert, because he or she may back out or enter into your lane. Always be prepared to stop. Delivery trucks can present a hazard. Packages or vehicle doors often block the driver's vision. Drivers of step vans, postal vehicles, local delivery vehicles often are in a hurry and may suddenly step out of the vehicle or drive their vehicle into the traffic lane. Parked vehicles can be hazards, especially when they start to get out of them. When people start to get out of them, or when they may suddenly start up and drive into your way. Watch for movement inside the vehicle or movement of the vehicle itself that shows people are inside. Watch for brake lights or backup lights, exhaust, and other clues that a driver is about to move. Be careful of a stopped bus. Passengers may cross in front of you or behind the bus, and they often can't see you. Pedestrians and bicyclists can also be hazards. Walkers, joggers, and bicyclists may be on the road with their back to the traffic, so they can't see you. Sometimes they wear portable stereos with headsets, so they can't hear you either. This can be dangerous on rainy days. Pedestrians may not see you because of hats or umbrellas. They may be hurrying to get out of the rain and may not pay attention to the traffic. Distractions. People who are distracted are hazards. Watch for where they are looking. If they are looking elsewhere, they can't see you, but be alert even when they are looking at you. They may believe that they have the right of way. Children tend to act quickly without checking traffic. Children playing with one another may not look for traffic and are a serious hazard. Talkers. Drivers or pedestrians talking to one another may not be paying close attention to the traffic. Workers. People working or on or near the roadway are a hazard. Clue. The work creates a distraction for other drivers, and workers themselves may not see you. Ice cream trucks. Someone selling ice cream is a hazard clue. Children may be nearby and may not see you. Disabled vehicles. Drivers changing a tire or fixing an engine often do not pay attention to the dangers that roadway traffic is to them. They are often careless. Jacked up wheels or raised hoods are hazard clues. Accidents. Accidents are particularly hazardous. People involved in accidents may not look for traffic. Passing drivers tend to look at the accident. People often run across the road without looking. Vehicles may slow or stop suddenly. Shoppers. People in and around shopping areas are often not watching traffic because they are looking for stores or looking into store windows. Confused drivers. Confused drivers often change direction suddenly or stop without warning. Confusion is common near freeway or turnpike interchanges and major intersections. Tourists unfamiliar with the area can be very hazardous. Clues to tourists include car top luggage and out-of-state license plates, unexpected actions, stopping in the middle of a block, changing lanes for no apparent reason, backup lights suddenly going on are clues to confusion. Hesitation is another clue, including driving very slowly, using brakes often, or stopping in the middle of an intersection. You may also see drivers who are looking at street signs, maps, and house numbers. These drivers may not be paying attention to you. Slow drivers. Motorists who fail to maintain normal speeds are hazards. Seeing slow-moving vehicles early can prevent a crash. Some vehicles, by their nature, are slow, and seeing them is a hazard clue. Mopeds, farm machinery, construction machinery, tractors, etc. Some of these will have the slow-moving vehicle symbol to warn you. If it is a red triangle with an orange center, watch for it. Drivers signaling a turn may be a hazard. Drivers signaling a turn may slow more than expected or stop if they are making a right turn into an alley or driveway. They may go very slowly if pedestrians or other vehicles block them. They may have to stop on the roadway. Vehicles turning left may have to stop for oncoming traffic. Drivers in a hurry. Drivers may feel your commercial vehicle is preventing them from getting where they want to go on time. Such drivers may pass you without a safe gap in the oncoming traffic. Cutting too close in front of you. Drivers entering the road may pull in front of you in case to avoid being stuck behind you, causing you to brake. Be aware of this and watch for drivers who are in a hurry. Impaired drivers. Drivers who are sleepy, have had too much to drink, are on drugs, or are ill are hazards. Some clues of these drivers are weaving across the road or drifting from one side to another, leaving the road, dropping right wheels onto the shoulder, or bumping across a curb in a turn. Stopping at the wrong time. Stopping at a green light or waiting for too long at a stop. Open window in cold weather. Speeding up or slowing down suddenly. Driving too fast or too slow. Be alert for drunk drivers and sleepy drivers late at night. Driver body movement as a clue. Drivers look in the direction they are going to turn. You may sometimes get a clue from the driver's head and body movements that the driver may be going to make a turn, even though the turn signals aren't on. Drivers making over-the-shoulder checks may be going to change lanes. These clues are most easily seen in motorcyclists and bicyclists. Watch other road users and try to tell whether they might do something hazardous. Conflicts. You are in conflict when you have to change speed and or direction to avoid hitting someone. Conflicts occur at intersections where vehicles meet at merges, such as turnpikes, on ramps, and where there are needed lane changes, such as at the end of a lane, forcing a move to another lane or of traffic. Other situations include slow-moving or stalled traffic in a traffic lane, and accident scenes. Watch for other drivers who are in conflict because they are a hazard to you. When they react to this conflict, they may do something that will put them in conflict with you. Two 2.8.4 Always have a plan. You should always have a plan. You should always be looking for hazards. Continue to learn to see hazards on the road. However, don't forget why you are looking for the hazards. They may turn into emergencies. You look for hazards in order to have time to plan a way out of an emergency. When you see a hazard, think about the emergencies that could develop and figure out what you would do. Always be prepared to take action based on your plans. In this way, you will be prepared, defensive driver who will improve your own safety as well as the safety of all road users. Subsection 2.7 and 2.8 test your knowledge. Question 1. How do you find out how many seconds of following distance space you have? Question 2. If you are driving at a 30-foot vehicle at 55 miles per hour, how many seconds of following distance should you allow? Question number 3. You should decrease your following distance if somebody is following you too close. True or false? If you swing wide to the left before turning right, another vehicle may try to pass you on the right. True or false? Question number 5. What is hazard? Question number 6. Why make emergency plans when you see a hazard? These questions may be on the test. If you can't answer them all, reread subsections 2.7 and 2.8.